You know, I've been thinking a lot about what really scares us. And I don't mean the stuff that makes you jump. I'm talking about the kind of fear that sits with you, the kind that follows you out of the game and into the quiet moments of your day. For the longest time, horror games have been loud. They're like a fireworks show of fear. There's a creepy noise, the music builds, and then bam! A monster smashes through a window and you yell. It's a thrill ride. And it's fun. Don't get me wrong, I love that stuff. It's the horror equivalent of a summer blockbuster. And in those games, you almost always have a fighting chance. You're a soldier, or a detective, or a survivor with a trusty shotgun. You're scared, sure, but you're also powerful. You're an intruder in the monster's house, and you're there to clean it out. But what if the monster's house was the entire world? And what if you weren't an intruder with a weapon, but just a kid who got lost? A kid who is quite literally on the menu. That's the quiet, chilling, and honestly kind of brilliant horror of Little Nightmares. It's not interested in making you jump. It's interested in making you feel. It trades the loud, explosive bang for a slow, sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. It's not about surviving a monster. It's about surviving a universe that seems to have been designed from the ground up to eat you alive. Today I want to break down why this game sticks with you. Why years after playing it, I still get a little creeped out thinking about long, dark corridors and the sound of dragging footsteps. We're going to look at 3 simple ideas that make this game a masterpiece of quiet terror. The first idea, you are powerless, and that's the point. Let's start with you. In Little Nightmares, you are not a hero, you are a child. A tiny 9-year-old kid in a yellow raincoat, all alone in a place called the Maw. Just saying your character out loud makes it clear, you are 6. You are a number. You are not a person here. You are a thing. From the very first second, the game teaches you your place. You can't fight. You see a monster? Your only option is to run, to hide, to squeeze into a tiny vent and hope it doesn't follow. This isn't a game about being brave. It's a game about being desperate. I want you to remember a moment from any other horror game where you felt strong. Maybe you mowed down a horde of zombies. Maybe you stood your ground against a giant beast. Now let me describe a moment from Little Nightmares. You're in a room full of beds. It's dark. You hear something dragging. The janitor comes in. He's this tall, lanky figure with arms that stretch down to the floor. He can't see you, but he can hear you, and he can feel for you. You duck under a bed. You're trying to be quiet, but your heart is pounding in your ears. You see his long, pale fingers slide under the bed skirt, feeling around just inches from your feet. You press yourself against the wall, trying to become part of the shadow, trying to disappear. That feeling, that cold, heart-in-your-throat panic, that's the core of this game. There's no health bar. There's no ammo count. The only thing being measured is your own fear. And it's not just the monsters. The world itself is your enemy. A simple dining chair is a massive obstacle you have to clumsily climb onto. A flight of stairs is a marathon. A kitchen table is a vast landscape. The game constantly reminds you of your size. You are small. The world is impossibly, dangerously big. This creates a background level of dread that never, ever goes away. A jump scare is a single punch. This is the feeling of being slowly buried. It's a heavy blanket of anxiety that you carry with you from start to finish. The second idea, the scariest monsters wear familiar faces. Now let's talk about the things that are chasing you. Most horror games use creatures from our nightmares. Demons, aliens, the undead. And that's fine. It's scary, but it's also safe. We can close the game and say, well, zombies aren't real. We can lock the door against them. Little Nightmares isn't safe. It does something much, much sneakier. It takes things we all know, everyday people, everyday places, and it twists them just enough to reveal the monster hiding inside. Take the janitor. He's not from another dimension. He's a caretaker, a janitor. a guy who's supposed to clean up. But in this world, he's blind, and he sees by feeling for little, scurrying things that are out of place. He's a perversion of a normal job. Then there's the teacher. Oh, the teacher. She might be the most brilliantly designed horror character I've ever seen. She has every single childhood fear of a strict, angry authority figure brought to life. She sits at her desk, and her classroom is dead silent. But if you make a sound, her head slowly turns, and then her neck stretches. It snaps forward like a predator bird, scanning the room for the naughty child. She is the ultimate nightmare of being in trouble with a teacher who has absolute terrifying power. And the guests, the fat, greedy, grunting guests in the dining room. They aren't zombies, they're just people. But they are people who have given in completely to their hunger. They are consumers. They mindlessly shove food into their gaping mouths, and if you get too close, you're just another piece of meat on the menu. They are a disgusting, terrifying reflection of our own world of mindless consumption. These monsters work because they aren't fantasy. They are exaggerations of our real fears. The fear of the adult world, a world that's big, confusing, and doesn't care about you. The fear of authority figures who have too much power. The fear of being lost in a crowd that only sees you as a thing to be used. This is psychological horror. It doesn't just scare you for a moment. It plants a seed of unease in your mind that keeps growing. You start to see a little bit of these monsters in the real world, and that is a far more lasting kind of terror. The third idea, the loudest stories are told in silence. Finally, let's talk about how the game tells its story. Most games explain everything. There's a character who talks to you through a radio, telling you where to go. There are cutscenes that explain the plot. There are diaries and logs to read. Little Nightmares says almost nothing. There is no narrator. No one gives you a mission. There are no quest pop-ups. The story is told entirely through the world around you. You are an explorer in a nightmare, and you have to piece together what happened from the clues left behind. You walk into a room and see a huge mountain of children's shoes. Just a pile of them. The game doesn't stop and say, look at this tragic pile of shoes. It just leaves it there, and your brain does the rest. You think, how many other children were here? What happened to them? The horror comes from your own imagination. Why does Six have a music box that she loves so much? What does it represent? A memory of home? A last little piece of comfort in this awful place? The game doesn't tell you. It shows you her attachment to it, and you have to feel what it means. This silence is powerful. It's not empty. It's heavy. It forces you to listen to the world. The deep, groaning creak of the ship. The distant, echoing crash of a pot. The wet, slobbering sounds of the guests eating. And in that quiet, the scariest sound of all is the sound of your own fear. By making you an active participant in the storytelling, the game makes the horror personal. You aren't being told a scary story. You are discovering a terrible truth for yourself. And the truth you discover on your own is always, always more frightening than one you're simply told. The final piece, why it all matters. So you take these three ideas, the crushing powerlessness of being a child, the deeply unsettling fear of twisted everyday life, and the heavy silent storytelling, and you weave them together. What you get isn't just a game, it's an experience. It's a feeling. Little Nightmares doesn't want to give you a quick thrill. It wants to make you feel small. It wants to make you feel alone. It wants to make you feel that deep childhood fear of being lost in a dark place, just desperately searching for a flicker of light. It swaps the loud, fast action horror of most games for a slow, cold, and deeply resonant sense of dread. It's a horror of scale, a horror of metaphor, a horror that lives in the quiet spaces. And that's why, for me, it carved out its own unforgettable place in the world of horror. It's a game that doesn't just scare you while you're playing. It's a game that haunts you long after you've turned it off. It's the shadow in the corner of your room, the creak on the stairs when you're home alone. It's the quiet, brilliant and deeply dark reminder that sometimes the most terrifying thing isn't a monster you can fight, but a world you are simply too small to survive in.